For those of you that don't know me, my name is Leighton. I have only been flying for like 5 years. I've only been looking at weather for a very short period of time, but I got really geeky and obsessed about it. And then I noticed that on the chat there's a bit of an argument happening about, we'll call it a nice discussion happening about people not knowing where to fly, people going flying and not telling others, and there's a bit of an expectation within the community that you go out and you find information and you find out where you want to fly so that other people don't tell you to fly somewhere and then it's a crap day and then you hate them for it or something else, because that does happen every now and again. So decided that we'd have a bit of a chat about weather as a first chance of the year, I guess, to get together as some club members, have beers, have food, and then geek out to a degree on clouds. You guys don't have to geek out. We're going to try and keep it as user-friendly as possible. Joe's down the back there, for those that haven't met him. He knows a lot more about weather than me. So I wrangled him in to talk as well, so you just have to listen to me for the next however long. We'll just, if you see me winking or like finger gunning, it's not that I find you attractive, it's just that I find Joe attractive and I need to change the slides. So, Joe, if you could change the... Alright, you're just going to have to keep clicking, there's a whole lot of clicks going through here. So we'll talk about general weather info, and then after we've done that, I just want to go sort of slowly through my basic process of how I decide where I'm going to fly, and then how I decide, not just from the site where I'm going to fly, but then where I might want to fly from that site in terms of the direction. Am I heading north? Am I heading to the east coast, the west coast, whatever else? Joe's going to give you a pretty good outline of NZ RASP so that you've got an understanding of all the Gucci diagrams on there, like the SKU-T graphs or tethograms and the blip maps. And then we'll have a look at just a couple of case studies of like recent flights that have happened, where people went and how that matches up to the weather information that we've pulled from the archive for that day. So if you don't know, on RASP, you can literally go back, I won't say forever because I don't know, but I went back a couple of years and you can pull days of weather information that were released at the last moment, so it's the highest probability weather. And you can look at all of that information for that day. So if you've got an XC contest and you see a flight, someone flew really far from a site that you're going to go fly at, go back to RASP, find that day on RASP, pull up the archive, and then match it up, and you can see where they flew and how they flew there and what the weather was doing, if you really want to nerd out. So we'll talk about some case studies. And then if anyone's got questions, they want to be a little bit more nerdy or they want some extra information, Joe and I have both got PDFs and stuff that I'm happy to share with you on how RASP works. Gives a reasonably layman's understanding without going into heaps of jargon. And then I'm sure there's plenty of people here as well that have great weather knowledge. You've got the flying stalwart Jeff Ripley in the back there. Wayne went down to refill his beer, but he knows quite a bit as well. He was here from school, and I'm sure a bunch of you probably know more about weather than I do anyway, so they'll be there to answer questions. Okay, so the basis of weather. It comes down to just three factors: heat, wind, and moisture. Weather, all it is moving parcels of air that are travelling around the world. That's the big picture of it. As those parcels of air condense or compress and decompress under pressure, they increase in heat, they decrease in heat. The weather in the jet stream comes together, and then it gets forced down, and then it comes out, or it comes together at the bottom, goes up, and then goes out the other way, is the simplest way of putting it. And those cycles just go round and round the world. In the local area, what that creates is the effects of localised wind as those parcels of air move. And then how hot that wind is based on where it's drawn temperature from, whether it's from large areas of land, or whether it's been sitting over the water, in which case maybe it hasn't drawn a lot of temperature, but it's probably sucked up a lot of moisture, and then it comes rushing onto the west coast of the South Island, dumps all of its moisture, and then acts nice and dry through the Canterbury Plains. Or in the North Island, we don't have a mountain range, so it just comes and dumps everything on Auckland, and then travels off into the Pacific Ocean. But wind, heat and moisture are the three main factors. If you've got too much wind, then it's going to blow all the heat out of the way, but you can still be carrying a lot of moisture and dumping it. If you've got a lot of heat and moisture, you're probably going to have thunderstorms. That's then to generate a lot of wind. And if you've got, what we want for flying, especially for XC flying, is little, we call it meteorological wind, because it's not like localized thermal wind, but you want as little meteorological wind as possible, and as much heat as possible, and the ability for that heat to leave the ground. So if it's too stable, it won't work. So you need a little bit of something to stir it up and get it going. So, I don't know where the little red dot came from. Is that the projector's dying maybe? So first step apps, so 96 to 24 hours out. And I think there's a little shot on my phone, it'll come up. Okay. And then what I have is I've got a bunch of weather apps sitting in a little box on my phone. And when I go into that, I've got Windfinder Pro, the Coast Guard Live, Wholefoy Live, and then RASP. And I know that there's a bunch of other apps, and I know there's other apps that a lot of people use. I know that I don't know what Louis Tapper uses, but he uses a pretty in-depth app to get his weather predictions for flying. And people have got different immediate wind ones like Windy and Wind Predict Wind, whatever it is. But they all effectively give you the same information. It's just about how relevant that information is. Back in the day, some sites had all the best info and others had none. Now with technology, the info is reasonably well spread, and it tends to not matter too much which apps you use as long as you're getting the info. So I use Windfinder Pro, 96 to 24 hours out. When I open up Windfinder Pro, I've got a list of all of my sites that I've flagged. Is that working? There we go. Okay. So I've got Mungawai Heads. It's supposed to say Parkity, I think. I don't know what's the Dills Hill, Moyes Hill, Muriwai, North Piha, Shakespeare Bay, and the list. You can go out there and you can favourite a bunch of different weather sites, and everywhere where there's a little weather reader, the information gets loaded up. So they're all across the country and all around the world. So I was using this in France as well. It's quite handy. And then that gives you a general outline of what's happening right then and there in terms of is it sunny or not, what's the wind direction doing. If you know the site, then you know that at Cheltenham Beach, if you've got 3 knots in a west-northwest, it's not strong enough, but it's an okay-ish direction. Sorry, that's east-northeast. But if you had, say, 10 knots there, probably bang on. And then you'd go to the Coast Guard. We'll talk about that later. Now, if you click on one of these, so I think if you press the little clicker, go to Moyes Hill. Then when you go in, it's got all the days out, about 8 or 9 days up the top, and you can just scroll through and see what's coming up. So that's looking out a few days ahead. The key thing to remember with any apps you use though a few days ahead is that what it tells you 3 to 4 days out is generally going to change. It might not change drastically, but it'll change enough that if you're doing all your flying and your planning based on 3-day-old information, you're probably going to turn up and it's not going to be good or reliable, or it'll be too strong because it's developed too much. Click away, Joe. Yeah, go again. And again, we can get rid of that one, talk about these. Okay, so the mistake that people make, so 96 to 24 hours out, you can use those, the apps are good, but after 24 hours out, I generally don't use the apps very much. And the reason is that if you're using an app for any weather information sort of 24 hours out, if it's a forecasting app, it's probably not too bad, especially some of the better ones like Wind Predict or Predict Wind, or whatever it is. It's a sailing one, yeah, it's got good wind stuff, but that's it, right? They predict, or most of the apps tend to tell you wind, and maybe the temperatures, localized temperatures and heat. It doesn't tell you thermal activity, it doesn't tell you what the cape is, or whether the air is going to be rising or not, or how high the thermals are going to rise to. So it's no good for cross-country flying. So 24 hours out, I stop using these apps and go to RASP. But if you are wanting to go coastal flying, then that's the only time you should be using these really in that 24-hour period. I know I'm saying don't use them, but they're good for coastal flying, and there is still some value for XC, but it's just minimised. So that's where we have Coast Guard and Whole Foil Live. I haven't got a screen capture of the Coast Guard app, but there's a couple of sites around Auckland, especially on the east coast, Bean Rock near North Head, and that gives you a good wind direction and information for North Head and Glover Park. And then if you want the information for what's the wind going to be doing an hour later or so, you'd start to look at the ones further out into the bay that will then tell you, because all that wind's going to move in if it's coming from the northeast direction, and you've got Terry Channel and some of the other ones further out that will tell you what, if it's increasing out there, it's soon going to increase in there. And then maybe 40-minute drive to get you to North Head. If you're that far away, you probably don't want to make the drive, because by the time you get there, you're flying 18, 19 knots, and it's going to be mini-wind season. And if you're not like me, that's fine, but I don't have a mini-wind as well, so I'm screwed. Whole Foil Live though, anyone here not used the Whole Foil Live app? Alright, cool. So I've got a screen capture of it, but you guys, if you've used it, then you'll know there's a bunch of weather stations around that constantly keep breaking. And they give us good live weather for what's happening. The key thing is, if you're looking at that, and I often do make this mistake, I'll look at that, I'm like, great, I'm going to go to Carrier, it's blowing, west-southwest, or it's bang on southwest, and it's 12, 13 knots, I'm bang on, I'm going to get out there and everything's going to be perfect. But I'm in the city, it takes me an hour to get out there or something, by the time I get out there it's now 20 knots, and I can't fly. So people just have to remember this is live. Go to the graphs that you get when you click into it and check the trends, because if it's trending up and the forecast says it's only going to get stronger, they're probably right, and it's probably not going to be worth the drive either. But that's the right now for coastal stuff. Okay. Has anyone got any questions on that general weather stuff? From this point out, I don't know if Joe is, but I'm pretty much going to avoid talking about coastal flight. Mainly because, yeah?
Was Windfinder Pro give you just the average Windfinder doesn't?
No ads. And I think some of the maps on it, like the data mapping on it, so I haven't used normal Windfinder in a long time, but I know that when Windfinder Pro updated, it was really handy that I could look at some of the forecast maps, and I've got the full colour maps with all the fancy animation and everything, where the wind is going. I can look at very localised points, and it gives quite good readouts. And then when I was overseas and using it, it just meant that I had the ability to get that information on the hill really quickly about what the forecasts were, sort of 10, 15 k's down the mountain range in the next hour. I'm not sure if Windfinder is very different. Have you got Windfinder just the normal?
Yeah, Windfinder Pro, and I wonder whether it's worth the investment, but most probably have enough payments.
Yeah. I mean, Windfinder Pro costs me $2 something. It's a one-off thing, so well worth it. The main reason I use that, I should say as well, instead of a lot of the other apps or sites, is just because I'm a cheap bastard, and I know that some of those sites have, I say hefty subscription fees. It's like $20 or something, but yeah, I'd rather just spend $2 and not worry about it. So. The only reason I'm not going to talk about coastal that much anymore is because coastal's pretty simple. Is the wind facing the hill that I want to fly along? Yes. Is the strength between 7 and 14, 15 knots? Yes. Alright, we're going to fly. There's not a lot more to think about in terms of the ups and downs of the weather and whether we get storms or whatever else. Maybe I go coastal flying a storm.
Leighton, just like, I don't know, not as far as 96 but 48 hours out, are you not looking at stuff like the net service? Is that not localised?
I used to look at meat service. The thing that I found was that what I used to do was I had my internet bar and I had like 10 sites across the internet bar, and I would just spend ages sitting there going from site to site looking at different stuff. And then I quickly realised that I didn't want to spend, I mean I like the weather, but I didn't want to spend heaps of time sitting behind the computer doing that. I wanted to spend time flying. And if I was spending an hour a night doing that, I wasn't doing other things. I know some of you might have families that constantly want your attention rather than the computer. But I just decided to minimise it as much as possible. So I cut everything back. My laptop I pretty much don't use at all, and everything's on my phone. I just pull it out, literally open up apps, have a quick look, it takes 5 minutes, put it away. Yeah, and then I've got a general idea 3 days out.
Unless you're comparing days with other days and other days.
Yeah, but I mean, if you kind of know if you're going to have a day off work to go flying or not. And my general thing is, do I have Thursday off? Yes. What's Thursday doing? Oh, it's crap. Okay, I'm not going flying. And then it takes 30 seconds, and I'm good to go. Whereas, yeah, I used to spend hours looking at met service, different wind things, site maps, the whole thing. Cool. Right, so we'll move on to, good segue, my basic process for finding out where I'm going to go fly. So, like I said, 72 to 24 hours to launch. I want to know, am I going coastal flying or am I going thermal flying? I've got a day off or I've got time spare, I want to go flying. What am I going to do? What are the options? So the first thing I want to do is find out the wind, because that's the biggest factor, right? Wind, we've got wind, heat and moisture. If it's too windy, the thermals won't stick around, so I'm not going thermal flying. That's as simple as that. And if it's not windy enough on the coast, then I can't go coastal flying, or if it's too windy on the coast, then I'm not going flying at all. So that kind of breaks down really easy for me, and then I just go home and cry. So that's that piece there. And I'll bring up something like this. So you can see in here, straight away, across the board, very low winds, and the directions are sort of all over the place-ish. We've got the breeze coming in on the east coast, and we've got a really light breeze coming in from the west coast sides, being Muriwai, North Piha. So if that's happening, we're most likely going to have this nice breeze meet in the middle, get a nice convergence going, some good heat lift. It's going to be a great sea day. So straight away, I already know I can't fly my paraglider in 4 knots of breeze or 3 knots of breeze at North Head, so I'm not going coastal flying. But I'm excited because I want to go thermal flying because I love it at sea, and then I want to check what's happening with the thermal flying. So click into Moyes Hill and decide whether I'm going to be able to go to Moyes Hill that day. So looking at it, got very light weather in the morning, breeze in the morning, swings around sort of westish, 1 o'clock, 5-6 knots, and then a nice 7 knot sort of southwest breeze, perfect direction for Moyes, and we've got a good heat difference here. So that's the other key thing. 13 degrees here in the morning as the sun rises, and then we've got this big heat change of 12 degrees coming into the afternoon. So that heat difference is going to be key to the whole thermal release and not ending up with a really stable day. If this 7 AM heat measurement was, I don't know, 20 degrees, 21 degrees, and it was only going to get up to 25. It's probably going to be pretty stable in boilers, so I might look at giving it a miss. But this gives me enough information to decide that 3 days out, looking at this, okay, this is a good day. When I get closer to the day, 24 hours out, I'm going to go jump back on Wind Finder and have a look at it again, and if it hasn't changed, then this is where I want to go. Okay. 24 to 6 hours out from launching. So this is, let's say, 11 AM midday the day before until the morning of going flying. I've already decided that I'm going to drive to Moyes, and now I want to know, like, for sure, 24 hours out the day before, am I definitely going to Moyes or not? So jump into RASP, and Joe's going to go through this, and I start having a look at the blip maps, but the key one I want to see is the thermal updraft velocity. So I want this to be nice and yellow, potentially with some orange running through it, and that's going to tell me that there's going to be a lot of heat there, a lot of thermal release, and then it's going to be good for XC flight. Once I've got that, and there's a few others I might look at as well, surface wind, maybe the convergence, because then I'm going to start texting a bunch of people and telling them to come flying. And that'll give me enough information to confirm for me that I'm going to go to Moyes. I'm not necessarily looking at the TEFgrams at the moment. But if I've decided I'm going to Moyes, I want to know what the launch conditions are going to be like. So then the next thing I look at is the TEFgram, and it starts to give me indications of the launch conditions at 1 o'clock at Moyes. So I know if I arrive at the car park at 11, like we always do, get out of our cars, chat, eat a banana, go for a walk, get to site, stand around for a while, watch people talk while we quickly lay our gear out to catch the one and only thermal of Moyes Hill for the day. And then eventually maybe launch at sort of 12:31ish, then those are the conditions we're going to be looking at. And Joe's going to talk about these so that you get an understanding of what that absolute circus on there means to fly. Once I've done that and I've made a decision of where I'm driving to, I'm going to Moyes, then I want to know what my flight plan is, right? I've decided where I'm going to fly. Now I want, as in like the site to fly, now I want to know my flight to fly. So once I launch, where am I flying? So this is 3 PM convergence in the upper North Island, and this is going to start telling me where I want to try and aim for. You can't quite see it with the projector, but in here we've got Moyes launch site marked on there nicely for us, and our nice convergence line runs right past Moyes. This circle here is the Dome Forest, goes right over the Dome Forest, and then it's heading north. Or if you put that the actual way it should be, we're going to be flying northwest. So that gives me enough information there to start planning out where I'm going to fly, and that's what I do the morning of the day I'm flying. I wake up, check the absolute latest RASP, the best high quality one that gives me the best information, and then I start planning out where I'm going to go, and then I arrive on hill and I try and convince Jeff and Joe to join me or trust me, and then they just fly somewhere else and all the way to Mangawai Heads while I bob out and Warkworth or something because my plan was crap. But this is our finding the highway of the sky to determine the best place to fly to. Has anyone got any questions on that? Yes?
Yes. So the convergence lines, I take it as a yellow, and are they going in any direction, or is it just the wind meeting and going off?
What do you mean in any direction?
Well,
It'll be relatively stationary.
you've got the yellow line going off. So from the sides, is the wind coming in and then going off?
Well, I mean, for us, the way the North Island works is yes.
So there's no like flow south and north?
There could be, yeah. So you're not necessarily just getting a direct sort of west and east breeze coming together and then going straight up with without it moving north or south. You can get especially quite often when it happens in this area, you'll get either a convergence with a light breeze heading from southwest, which then pushes us north, or you get a light breeze from the northeast, which then means we're flying to Johnny Hopper's house. But that convergence is just showing you the lift. The direction you fly is dependent on the other wind factors. Yeah. But this at least tells you, I mean, if you've got that highway and it's nice and bold, there's probably very little north-south wind, and you've probably got a really good chance of flying all the way down to Johnny's place and then all the way back to Moy's. And it's been done before, right? Like from Dills Hill all the way down to Johnny's, all the way back, and then hey, let's just keep going and fly north because the convergence is still rocking into 5 o'clock at night. 6 o'clock at night. Any other questions? Like I said, really simple process that I use, just because I got sick of spending hours behind a computer. And I'm not saying that it's bad to look at a bunch of different sites. It's probably going to give you the best possible information to be able to go into. But then if you don't fully understand the information from all those sites, you can get sucked into the vortex, and then before you know it, you're just crying behind your computer because you can't figure out what are the little arrows on the Met Service thing and why does this one look different to that. And somebody please tell me where I should go tomorrow, which is how I used to always sort of message Joe, and he'd tell me to get lost. But that's my simple process. Joe's going to, we'll flip the computers over, Joe's going to talk to you about RASP, and then we'll have a look at some case studies